Welcome back to another episode of Competitive Games. In episode 4 we looked at the discrepancy between static games and games as living artifacts, and how this impacted Sirlin's argument play to win. Today we will continue our analysis and critique of Sirlin's essay. Recall that scrubs, as Sirlin calls them, are identified by their lamentations about what is cheap or fair in competitive video games. Scrubs don't play to win. However, when we consider games as living artifacts with rules, subject to change via patches and updates, our notions of playing to win shifts significantly. Changeable rules raise questions of balance. Ignoring for the moment that many games are released unfinished because of pressure from publishers and the ability to finish them through patches and updates, games as living artifacts dramatically alters the competitive landscape. If the developers can tweak the programming, and they often do, then players can lobby for certain changes. When players lobby for change, it is often because they believe the state of the game is unbalanced. They believe certain rules within the game do not lead to productive, equal, competitive play. Are these players scrubs? Sirlin would say they are. He says that, if the game is unbalanced, the only winning move is to not play the game. Alas, games can now be continually rebalanced, and it's communication between players and developers that evens out the balance of the game. So how are we to decide which complaints are legitimate? That is, Rule X is unbalanced and requires tweaking, and which complaints come from scrubs who just aren't playing to win? This is the quandary that faces both developers and players, because while ultimately the developers decide which changes are made, the decision is often arrived at through communication between the two groups. Players who lobby must argue persuasively and effectively for their desired changes. This requires an intimate familiarity with the game. The game must be a white box for that player. If it's not, if it's apparent that the player/lobbyist has not explored the depths of the game, then their argument is easily dismissed as scrubdom. Here, in the interactions between players and developers, in the act of learning and exploring the nuances of the game rules, in the process of arguing for balanced changes, we see community and culture and discourse emerge. The game is no longer frivolous for these players. It's serious business. There's still much more to cover in our critique and analysis of Sirlin, so check back next episode where we examine matters of authority, exceptions, and restrictions in the discourse of competitive gaming. Until then, feel free to comment with questions or feedback. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep on gaming.